It's basic season, so you know what that means. It's going to be another pumpkin recipe, filling your feed, but this one's going to be a little bit different. We have a high protein pumpkin cinnamon roll recipe that's going to keep you on track with your diet and make it super easy to lose weight. No more chicken, broccoli, and rice. We're going to be eating fun things on this channel, and here's the first recipe for this. So I'm excited. If you guys are ready, let's get into it. First ingredient we're going to need is going to be 5 grams of instant yeast. Whenever you use yeast, you're going to want to make sure that the yeast is still active. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with some warm water. We're going to get just a small little amount just so we can hydrate the yeast, and then we're going to make sure that it's bubbling. So you want your water to be warm to the touch. You just don't want it to be cold. You can see I have it somewhere around 100 degrees. That should be perfect. So using our negative scale trick, we're going to be measuring out 5 grams of yeast. So a negative scale trick is basically just zeroing out the whatever you're weighing on there. We're going to take our spoon and we're going to measure out 5 grams. I'm going to stir that up a little bit. And we're going to come back and check on it here in a little bit and make sure that it's still active. So first we're going to start with our dry ingredients here. We're going to start with 77 grams of a whey casein blend. I prefer PE Science, so PE Science, if you're watching this, you can go ahead and sponsor me. $60 grams of vital wheat gluten. If you don't know what vital wheat gluten is, it's basically the protein that comes from flour. 140 grams of all-purpose flour. 25 grams of your favorite zero-calorie sweetener. I like using allulose. I like also erythritol, stevia, Splenda. It's your choice. I just find that allulose is good at baking. This is a pumpkin spice recipe, so we're going to be needing 3 grams of pumpkin pie spice. I like to do about half of it, and then I'm going to spread the rest whenever we get the cinnamon roll rolled out. The last dry ingredient is a dash of salt. Now we're just going to give these dry ingredients a whisk to combine to ensure even baking. So the main star of the show here, which is our pumpkin puree, you're going to see that it says pure pumpkin on there. Don't get pumpkin pie, because that's going to be filled with a bunch of extra calories that we're not trying to eat. We're going to do a half a cup or 120 grams of pure pumpkin. Our only other wet ingredient is 170 grams of fat-free plain Greek yogurt. So now you can see that our yeast is nice and active. We're going to go ahead and add that to it, and that's our last ingredient. So if you're bougie like me, you're going to be using a stand mixer to mix this. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can use this dough hook right here. I'll put a link into the description where you can get one of these on Amazon. So we're going to use this dough hook attachment on our stand mixer here, lock it into place, and we're going to let it go for about 5 minutes. As you can see, our dough is kneading together nicely. So if you don't have that dough hook that I showed you, we're going to have to do it by hand. So basically we're just going to take a little bit of Pam, get that on our hands, rub it in, and then you're just going to go back and forth. We're going to spray a bowl, make sure we got nice and greased up. And then we're going to take our dough and form it into a nice little tight ball. Plop it in there, and we're going to let it rise for 90 minutes, or roughly doubled in size. We're just going to cover it in some cling wrap here. If you're like me, this stuff never sticks, but luckily this time looks like it did. So we're going to cover it with some cling wrap. I also like to put a towel over top of it. So we're going to let this sit in a nice warm place so it can rise. If you live in a cold environment, one thing you can do is put it in the oven and then just turn the light on, and that should be enough heat. So I'll see you guys back in 90 minutes. So it's been about 90 minutes, and as you can see, our dough has risen nicely. So now we're going to take it out and we're going to go ahead and roll it out. Throw a little bit of flour down so our dough doesn't stick. We're going to take our dough down, sprinkle a little bit more flour on top. We go ahead and roll it out to about roughly 1/4 of an inch thick. And you can kind of play around with the shapes and see what works best for you, depending on which size cinnamon rolls that you like. And this recipe is going to make roughly 6 full-size cinnamon rolls. Like I said, you can make them bigger or smaller, depending on how you like them. So just try and keep it as uniform as you can, so it makes the most uniform, aesthetic looking cinnamon rolls here. We're gonna take our pumpkin pie spice and we're just gonna give a light dusting over it. Our next key ingredient is gonna be a 0-calorie brown sugar. So I'm really not too much of a fan of a regular erythritol, but the brown sugar, for whatever reason, whatever it has in it, it just tastes so much better. So we're not really gonna measure this out. I would say, I've done it in the past, it's roughly 20 to 25 grams of brown sugar. But since this is 0 calories, we're just gonna go ahead and sprinkle this on here and load this thing up. So there's several different ways that you can cut this thing up. You can roll it up and then use the mat. As you see this baking mat here, you can roll it up, use that. If it's too sticky, roll it up into a log and then just cut it into however many pieces you want. My preferred method is I like to use a pizza cutter. And I'm just gonna start in the middle, go ahead and run it down once, and then I'm gonna just roughly divide it into 3. And it's just that easy. Now all that's left is we're just gonna take our dough and then keep it nice and tight, and we're just gonna roll it down. Then whatever you're gonna plan to bake them in, you're just gonna go ahead and grease that up, spray it off so nothing sticks. And then we're gonna place our finished rolls in here. All right, so before we throw these in the oven, we're just gonna let them proof one more time. So we're gonna cover back up with our saran wrap, and then again with our towel. So we're gonna let these sit for about 30 minutes so they can proof up and get some more size to them, and then they'll be ready to throw in the oven. And while we're waiting on that, we're gonna go ahead and preheat our oven to 350 degrees. While we're waiting for our cinnamon rolls to proof, we're gonna go ahead and start with our icing here. We're gonna get the light butter here. We're gonna have 14 grams of light butter. As you can see, this first ingredient is butter. It's just a lower calorie version of it. We're gonna go ahead and pop that in the microwave just to melt it down a little bit. Anywhere from about 5 to 10 seconds should be perfect. Add a splash of vanilla extract, a little tip so that it doesn't go everywhere. You can see I left the lid on there and just poke a hole in there with a toothpick. A little bit more pumpkin pie spice, just for that extra pumpkin spice flavor. We're gonna have 52 grams of powdered sugar. If you don't want to use sugar in this recipe, you could use powdered Swerve or any other 0-calorie powdered confectioner sugar. I just found that the flavor just has this cooling effect that it really doesn't taste that good to me. So I built this in with good enough macros that we can use real powdered sugar with it. Then we're gonna add 52 grams. We're just gonna stir to combine. So you're gonna notice that it's gonna be a little bit more dry than a normal icing would be. And then once that's the case, we're gonna go ahead and add in a little bit of extra fat-free Fairlife if the consistency is not what we're looking for. For me, this is what I'm looking for right here. Nice thick icing. So I don't even need to add any more Fairlife. For an even higher protein version of this, you can add up to 15 grams of a whey protein. I've tried it with whey casein and casein only, and in my opinion, the whey only came out to be the best flavor. After 30 minutes, you can see that our rolls have nearly doubled in size. Time to put them in the oven. We're gonna be baking these at 350 for roughly 20 to 25 minutes. I prefer mine a little bit underdone, so just keep an eye on them and then see whenever they're done how you like them. That only took about 17 minutes for where I like them. I don't know where I got 20 to 25 minutes. Here's what they're looking like. Just gonna let these cool for a minute and then we're ready to ice them. I can't wait to eat these things. These things smell so amazing. So we're gonna go ahead and take our icing right here and we're just gonna go ahead and ice each one. As you can see, this thing right here that I'm using, I'll put a link to this. This thing is for people who are greedy like me and like to get every last bit of icing. All right, it's time for the taste test. Obviously, I know how this tastes. It's gonna taste amazing, but I'll taste it on camera for you guys because I love watching people eat too. So for each cinnamon roll, there's 21 grams of protein and 216 calories. And the recipe makes 6 cinnamon rolls. All right, let's dig in. Easy 10 out of 10. Make this recipe and tag me on Instagram. I'll drop my Instagram channel, the link in the description. Thank you guys for watching. All right, real quick guys, if you guys want to go on the best fitness vacations, click the link down in the description and use code AF200 for $200 off of check-in. Thanks.